Hello. Good. No problem. Let me figure out how to do this now. Okay. All right. Yeah, same here. Why is it when I click gallery view and it's showing you on like up stacked vertically instead of horizontally? Yeah, there you go. It will for my shared screen for me to put it on mine. Okay, what else am I gonna do? Good. Hmm.
And just like that, we're live. How about that? This is what I needed to do on a Tuesday. Talk to Scott Seidenberg. Hi, everyone. Well, people aren't here yet, but, they will be eventually. All our good stuff will be over, and we'll finish everything. But we're here. Hi, Scott. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good. I'm testing your levels here. We're going on the fly. Say something
That's the
funny.
best way to do it. Something funny.
Something funny.
I can tell you something funny though, if you
Okay.
want a little chuckle.
I like chuckles.
I saw something on the internet yesterday
Okay,
that
I like the
made
internet.
me ponder my entire existence.
Okay. It's not the same
It
thing I
was
tweeted.
it was a map of Jerry Seinfeld's apartment, and the way that the door is assembled with what we know about the hallway, it can't physically exist.
Oh, you found a continuity flaw.
The way that we know Jerry's apartment set up with the kitchen and the door, and the way that we've seen the hallway with Kramer's door and Jerry's door, it can't physically exist.
Nice.
I
All
have
right.
questioned
I
everything I
asked.
know about life now.
I asked. No, the thing that I put it on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm calling it up so I can see it because I don't remember these things. Um, it's the Rick Astley paradox. Okay,
Okay.
Rick Astley. Where is it? Oh, here it is. If you ask Rick Astley for a DVD of the movie Up, he will not give it to you because he is never going to give you up.
Or let you down.
However, by not giving you up, even though you asked for it,
He's letting
he
you
is
down.
letting you down. It's the Rick Astley paradox. Tell me that's not gold. And the picture that
That's
this
terrible.
line is Vision telling it to fake Vision.
That's very funny. Yeah.
That's really funny. Cognac. I think your name is Ethan. I think. Tell me if I'm wrong. But hello, welcome. Yeah, I thought that was very funny. Have you enjoyed Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I think it's like, in my opinion, and I think you would agree with me, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, is the best movie besides like maybe Iron Man 1.
No. I'm Civil
Oh,
War. I'm all
you're
Civil
okay.
War.
Okay,
And I
that's fair.
remembered Ethan's name. Stay high.
That's all right.
That's
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, but I think that Winter Soldier is top two, top three. It's an incredible. It's one of the better ones out there. This brings back everything that was so good about that movie. I think they're doing such a great job. I'm much more into this than I am into WandaVision. Um, WandaVision, I felt like I was watching to see where the next phase of movies is going to go. we're waiting for Doctor Strange, we're waiting for Spider-Man, and we expect this whole multiverse and all that stuff and whatnot. And I just think this brings Marvel back to where it was when it wasn't so cosmic and mystical and things like that.
Right. So it means you just like those kind of action movies more than the mystic arts.
Yes.
No, and I get that. And this is not a criticism. What I love about Falcon and Winter Soldier is, well, the number one thing is Isaiah Bradley, because I could count on my hands the amount of graphic novels that I have loved. When I say loved, I loved Dark Knight Returns. I loved Crisis on Infinite Earths. I love this thing called JLA The Nail, which is awesome. It's an Elseworlds. The Nail is basically, it's the history that you know of Superman, but the Kents, when they're driving on the field where they're about to see the spaceship, they run over a nail and they get a flat tire so they don't see him. Fast forward 30 years, there's no Superman.
Wow.
It's a great book. Like that's
so no one else would find him?
No. He exists, but he's not. He doesn't have what makes him Superman.
Okay.
And he's more Henry Cavill. No, just kidding. So anyway, like I said, I can count on one hand the amount of books. Like all these books I've read, but only about 7 of them I've loved. And The Truth, it's not called The Truth. It's Truth, Red, White, and Blue. And it's the story of Isaiah Bradley. And the story, and I reread it, and it reminded me that the cover is very misleading. Because on the back cover, here, let me get the book. We have visual aids. This is the book, right?
Yeah.
But in the back, there's a picture of Isaiah Bradley with Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
In the MCU, that never happens.
No.
Because Steve doesn't know
that he exists. Yeah.
That Isaiah Bradley exists. And if you remember the Captain America movie, and what I by rereading this, I found out in the Captain America movie, the guy who creates the super soldier serum is killed.
Mm-hmm.
The government has to recreate that. And they don't know how. And so they test it on 5 black guys. Mm-hmm. In the 50s. Like it's so wrong. And only one of them survived. And it's Isaiah Bradley. And they kept, when Cap comes back in the present from the ice, they don't tell him about Isaiah Bradley.
Correct.
My prediction, mm-hmm. by the way, for Falcon Winter Soldier, is Chris Evans has the cameo. And it's old Chris Evans meeting old Isaiah Bradley. Because Captain America finds out.
Wow, that would be wild.
That's my Luke Skywalker, and
yeah,
that's my guess. It's a total guess.
I think it's awesome that when they first introduce him and he says, "I just wanted to see, if you got a new arm," because when he fought the Winter Soldier in Korea, he took his arm off, and that's why something just fell. That's why he has a metallic arm the first time we see him in Captain America Winter Soldier. Is the backstory now we're getting. Why does he have a metallic arm? This is before the vibranium arm, but the original metallic arm is because Isaiah Bradley tore his arm off.
And then on top of that, what's made me love it more is Carl Lumley. Ethan, I just saw that you hosted this. Thank you very much, buddy. Carl Lumley, who, for those of you who don't know, he is Martian Manhunter on the Justice League cartoon. And in my podcast, I have had 5 of the 7. And this week, I have the 5th. I have Michael Rosenbaum, who was the Flash on Justice League, but he was also Lex Luthor on Smallville. And he's the podcast this week. And Carl Lumley is like my white whale. I've been trying to get Carl Lumley. Like, Carl Lumley is on the list. Like, I'd love to get Kevin Feige. I don't know how to get him. You know what I mean? There's people I've wanted to get on the show, but the fact of the matter is that Carl Lumley is one of those people. And in the podcast of Michael Rosenbaum, he says, you got to talk to Lumley. He's awesome. And then that's all before he was in Falcon and Winter Soldier playing this guy, that guy.
Yeah. It's very cool.
Look at that image.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. It's a crazy story. I thought the Sharon Carter thing is not believable.
Unless she is the power bro.
You broke up.
I don't know if you're reading the comment. No, she's the power broker.
Maybe, but the fact of the matter,
she got into the back of that car with her driver like she was some sort of boss, you know what? And I don't care if she's been living in Madripoor dealing art and maybe she's rich and that's why she has a driver, but that made it look like she is some sort of head honcho somebody, and maybe she is the power broker.
Maybe.
And the reason why she's,
but what disappointed
she's tracking down the serum because
she's,
she loves Steve and all this stuff and whatever.
But the my issue that I have is I didn't like I didn't like what happened to the cast in this show. Like, for example, when Thanos first attacks, I'm not saying all was forgiven, but Tony and Cap, and like, do you remember when Captain America shows up and General Ross is like, I hope you're not looking for a pardon? He goes, I don't care about a pardon. We got bigger things to fry, right? So everyone's all in, right? It's all hands on deck, right? This major fight. Sharon Carter is stuck in hiding? Like, and
listen,
she's an FBI trainee. And what did she commit? What crime did she stole a shield?
And the Falcon suit.
Come on. I'm sorry. That guy stole Vision's body. That's worse.
Yeah. It's one of those things, but I think also it happens very fast, and people are listen. She's on the other side of the world. You think she's all of a sudden going to now travel to upstate New York to go fight by the Avengers facility?
Right.
Like there's a lot of things that are going on at the same time. What I like what they're doing here is they're giving us the reality of what happened after Thanos. Like this whole, the GRC and everything that's going on. Like, yes, like in Spider-Man Homecoming or what, Far From Home, they played it off as a joke, right? Everybody came back after the blip, and kids that you went to high school with are now 5 years older. And okay, now everything's okay, and we're on a class trip to Europe. All right. This is now giving us the real life results of what happened.
Right.
Like, yeah, there are people that lost their jobs, that lost their homes. 5 years went by. The Falcon can't get a loan because he hasn't had a job in 5 years.
But that's part two. Are you telling me first of all, the Air Force isn't paying him handsomely?
Yeah.
For what he's doing? Mm-hmm. And that's number one. Number two, you're telling me Pepper Potts doesn't have money? Are you kidding?
Yeah, she's not endowing all the Avengers.
She's not helping them? Especially the ones that were feathers?
Yeah.
Come on. Like, some of this is not plausible.
There should have been, do you remember, now I'm bringing back another Spider-Man recall. One of the cool things about that movie, the first one, Homecoming, was when I guess Michael Keaton's character loses his job because he had all this, he had the job of cleaning up after the attack on New York.
Yeah, the Avengers.
And then it was taken over by Stark.
Yep.
So Tony took over the cleanup and restoration of everything. You would think that now after the Thanos thing, it would be some sort of other Stark thing led by Pepper. You're right. They could have done something
I just think, like, it's not that I don't like the show. Don't get me wrong. It's just that some of this stuff feels so like, well, it's just to set up plot because they need to go somewhere. And I'm like, you only have 6 episodes. Like, I don't know, do better. I don't know. But then again, they can all tie it up together. You know what I mean? Like, you never know. never know. Mike Scioscia was just named the manager of Team USA.
For the World Baseball Classic?
Yeah,
or?
but Mickey Callaway's still an employee of the Angels. Makes perfect sense.
Wait, so for what Team USA for what? For World Baseball Classic or for the Olympics or for what?
I think for the Olympics.
Okay. Yeah, but that's all going to be college kids anyway.
No, I know. But that's cool that they get to play for Mike Scioscia.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Mike Scioscia fan.
Yeah. Who was the remember the last World Baseball Classic where Jim Leland was the manager, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. A lot of people knocked it. I really enjoyed it.
Knocked it to
I liked it. And you saw the players were so happy. Like I love that stuff.
No, if you want to do it, I'm all for having an international tournament. Do it at the end of the season. The ideal time is October. And you do it and you play it during the daytime when the postseason's at night.
Yeah, I mean you do it and with all the players that are not
all the
in the
players
postseason.
that are not in the postseason. And they
absolutely.
And it's so easy to do. And then I'd let my pitchers just go all out because they have months to heal.
Yeah, of
Whereas
course.
I would not let, if I'm a general manager of any team, I would not want anybody.
Oh, in spring training, yeah.
Anybody pitching in that thing. I think it's a train wreck. And I said that, I called the first World Baseball Classic. I called the first round in Japan. Okay, Daryl and we went to Japan in 2006 to call the World Baseball Classic. One of the single greatest trips I've ever had. But Tommy Lasorda was there, and Tommy Lasorda was an ambassador for this World Baseball Classic, and we didn't know because we were facing the booth, we were facing the field, and I'm ripping this thing to shreds. I'm like, I wouldn't let my pitchers touch this. No way. You see how they handle these pitchers today with kid gloves, and you're just going to let this guy go all out for his country and not for the team that's paying him? No. Putting you over. Thank you for hosting. We're in this new accelerator thing, and all these guys all these guys do these great shows, and I'm just meeting all of them in the last 48 hours, and I'm the worst. But anyway, so I was against it, and that's when Tommy Lasorda, may he rest in peace, called me a communist.
Yeah.
He said, "What are you, some kind of communist?" And he screamed at me on the MLB broadcast of the World Baseball Classic. And Darrell Hamilton he had told me later on in life that he wished he had an iPhone
to record exactly what
because someone has it. So it's somewhere.
And like an old Motorola Razor.
Someone has it of him just lambasting me, and just how that would be fantastic.
Well, look, the format is there, and I think you'd have to look at the way that hockey does the World Championships.
Yep.
Right? It's not associated with the NHL. The IIHF World Championships is completely separate from any World Cup of Hockey,
correct?
Things like that. And what happens is that's run during really the NHL postseason. That's when the World Championships happen. And as players get eliminated from the NHL, from their postseasons, they go join their country teams. Ovechkin would do this for years. Right. He'd get eliminated. The Capitals would get eliminated from the postseason, and he'd go over to Helsinki
and play for 6
Team
weeks.
Russia
Right.
in the World Championships. So
that was in a time when we didn't have all these streaming services that you could watch that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Nowadays that stuff would do amazing. That would be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, so if you do a World Baseball Classic and you do it during the postseason, and you can essentially have games on every single day, and players that are eliminated from the Major League Baseball postseason can report to their country's team and play. And then, you have a roster size of 50 or 60, and then you just replace them. You could have a different lineup every couple of days with new players getting eliminated. You start out with Trout because the Angels aren't making the playoffs, and then you just build from there.
Right, don't worry, they won't be there.
Yeah, don't worry about the Angels. Yeah, it's fine.
Haven't they won 3 or 4 or some nonsense?
Yeah, Trout's always on Team USA because you never have to worry about him playing in the postseason, and then you just fill in with other guys.
Oh my God, our boy Don Collins says hello to you and to me.
Hello to you, Don. But yeah, so Mike Trout's going to go down as the greatest player in baseball history to never win a postseason game.
Well, he's going to go down in history as the most irrelevant greatest player.
Yeah, like top 5 greatest player of all time, baseball history, when it's all said and done.
But he is. But he's irrelevant. No one knows who he is.
Yeah, that's true.
If I posted his picture out of uniform, the example that I use is a radio example. It's not. I guess if people saw his picture, but I would say if I played a random soundbite, just right on this show, if I just played a random soundbite,
no one would know.
No one would know who he is.
No.
But if I played David Ortiz, Derek Jeter, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, who else? Tommy Lasorda.
This is our bleeping city.
It was an accident. I don't know.
Speaking of this is our bleeping city. Did you? Well, let's get off the Trout train for a second. Speaking of this is our bleeping city. Did you see the Red Sox Patriots Day uniforms?
Yeah, they're yellow.
They're the colors of the Boston Marathon. They're yellow and blue, and so they're honoring. So
they're doing
Marathon,
like the NBA
tragedy by
they're yellow and blue.
Special. They're yellow. Listen, Patriots Day is one of the greatest days. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Patriots Day is one
play
of the
at
coolest
11 o'clock in the
morning.
morning.
First of all, the Red Sox play at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
It's so much easier to fall asleep during a game.
So the marathon ends. Yeah. But they play after the marathon. So the Boston Marathons ran, and then, and no one works that day, and everyone's out partying and hanging out. It's a great time. But yeah, they're honoring that tragedy with these special Patriots Day uniforms. But I think they're going to wear them all weekend, which I hate. Like, if you're going to do a special uniform, you just wear it on that special day. Why do they need to wear, Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, they want to sell
it. Yeah, of course. But they do that all the time with the 4th of July and the Memorial Day and all those special
I hate that. I want to be the uniform police. That's my fantasy job.
This is why I bring it up, because you are the uniform police.
Well, the rumor is the Mets version of that is the black jerseys.
Yes, Nike is doing these city uniforms, these special uniforms for teams. And so, yes, that's the Boston City uniform. And this is going to be the New York City uniform will be the black Mets jerseys.
Putting you over says, I agree, makes them less special. Tell us your first name. And I might know you already from the thing, but tell me your first name. Look, uniforms are it's all gimmicky. It's all silly. One of the things I wanted to, you're the standing streamer, but you have a different name. I didn't know that. The controversy from Friday where Major League Baseball announced that they're taking the All-Star game out of Atlanta. Now, I supported it. I thought it was interesting because I hate that voting thing exists, and I'm not getting into a whole political conversation. I just think it's absolute bullshit. That's all I'm going to say about that. The hypocrisy that Major League Baseball has, and now I'm accusing baseball after reading more about it and learning more about it. Baseball didn't do this to take a political stand. They did it so idiots like
Colorado
me will talk about them. And Colorado has the same voting laws.
Yeah. And Colorado and they just passed the same, there's like a water thing and something else that Colorado just passed also that is exactly like Georgia. So it's
so stupid. This sport can't get out of its own way. And everyone's like, well, how about Major League Baseball? And they did it because some consultant sat in that goddamn commissioner's office and said, we'll get on the Today Show and Good Morning America.
Here's what they should have done. Okay. Cooperstown.
Well, okay. I would have said Iowa because you built the field.
I say Cooperstown because that place lost a lot of money not having the Hall of Fame.
I know. The problem is it's a logistical nightmare and you can't fit more than 1,500 people in that building.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I understand that.
I've seen the Cooperstown argument. I respect the heck out of it. It's not an argument because logistically it's too wrong. All right, so and I'll give credit to Softy. You know my friend Softy. He had, I thought the best example was put it in a city where baseball isn't. Put it in New Orleans. Put it in Des Moines. Put it in anywhere where there's a field that you could put 20,000 people in. That's what I would do.
So like some minor league stadium somewhere? Or
Pick a place. Yeah, pick a place. And,
put it in Omaha where the College World Series is? Rosenthal
do that.
Stadium?
How cool is that? Yeah. That's a great idea. And you have the facility.
Well, I think they redid. They built a new stadium there. It's like TD something or whatever. Yeah, I get it.
Coors Field. Look, Coors Field is one of my favorite ballparks and of all time. And I covered the first All-Star game at Coors Field, and that was my first All-Star game. And that was one of my greatest memories. That's where I got in the mascot, scarred for life. Do you remember this? So
I don't know.
All right, let me bring some context into this. So I had been working in Denver for 2 years, and I had just gotten hired to go to Seattle. And you know how you put your 2 weeks notice in? My 12th day of the 2 weeks notice was the All-Star game. So I go to the All-Star game. I got 3 days left. This is my last assignment, by the way, and I'm out of there. My apartment is all packed up. Like, I'm ready to leave. That game was on a Tuesday. That Saturday I moved. I might have been at Friday. So I get hired as a freelancer to do a bunch of different things, and one of the things I had to do was this 5-minute interview with an umpire. And it's all pre-scheduled. It was all done. It was all taken care of. And they said, go to the umpire's room at 4 o'clock, whatever time. And even though I had been to Coors Field for 3 seasons now, 96, 97, and now half of 98, I didn't know where the umpire's room was. So I go up to one of the security guys, and the security guys at Coors Field wear these green uniforms. And it's like a green vest with a button-down shirt on it.
Sure.
It's Coors Field. And I said to this guy, can you tell me where the umpire's room is? And he says, yeah, it's the third door on your right. He was wrong.
Oh, you told me the story.
It's the second door on the right. The third door on the right is
the mascot dressing room.
All the mascots in their changing room. And so I saw every mascot with their head rolling on the floor. I'm sorry.
That's a scarring sight to see Billy back without a head.
No, and I can't look at a mascot the same. That's the Coors Field All-Star game. The Coors Field All-Star game I will never. That's the game. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget that All-Star game. And I love Denver, but if you're going to take a stand and take it out of Atlanta and put it in Denver, then you did it for the publicity. Mm-hmm. And you cost the people in Georgia millions of dollars in lost revenue. Denver will not make it up because without the lead time, they won't have the time to set it up properly. Mm-hmm. You did bad to 2 places. And again, I'm not supporting that law. I think the law is garbage. But baseball didn't do it for that purpose. They didn't do something. They didn't stand up for some social justice. They stood up and they did it because they wanted to be on the goddamn Today Show. Mm-hmm. And that's Rob Manfred. And I should have seen it because when it happened on Friday, people were like, wow, look at baseball taking a stand. And I said, yeah. And then there was a report that all the revenue that Atlanta was going to lose. And people said, and I said, well, I hope the bill's worth it. You know, like I hope the law is worth it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I started reading about it. And when the suggestion came about of doing like a Cooperstown, I read that, and I read Iowa. I think Iowa makes the most sense because you just spent millions of dollars to build that goddamn field. Mm-hmm. Like, there's so many better options than Denver, Colorado. It's unbelievable. And that's saying something where I can hold on. One second.
I'm holding on. Not really sure what I'm holding for, but hey, this is live. This is what we do when we're live. I just thought Cooperstown because, look, you look at what they lost with the Hall of Fame, and maybe I'm not saying that baseball would move up or reschedule the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, but you could have done it around the All-Star break. And all right, Seth's back, but that's what I thought. But you're right, the logistics just don't make sense at all. That's a green Rockies jersey.
This is a 1998 home run derby jersey, and there's the logo.
Yeah.
I got this at the All-Star game. I remember that. I was so gone. My head was out. I was leaving, and this was like I called the All-Star game my going away party. And I got this jersey.
There it is.
No, I'm not going to put it on. Anyway,
there it is.
It's just like baseball. This is such a baseball thing to do. To
Let me
do
bring
it
up
for
another,
the publicity.
Yeah. Let me bring up another baseball topic. Are you able to separate any virus discussion, any safety discussion from the imagery that you saw yesterday at Globe Life Park? Because let me be honest, virus conversation aside, pandemic conversation aside, safety issues, none of that, take that out of your mind. Yep. Visually, watching that game yesterday, and listen, I had Blue Jays in the first 5. That was my pick for the day. So
that was your bet.
That was my pick. Listen,
I didn't see that. I didn't see where that was coming.
that was my pick. So I watched that game intently, and let me tell you something. It played out exactly like I thought. Steven Matz was great. Mike Foltynewicz still has issues, so that we hit that yesterday. Anyway, for more picks, head to my Twitter page at Scott's on there. So visually, though, watching that game and seeing a packed ballpark, it made me so happy.
Oh, no.
And again, this is what I'm asking you. This is what I'm asking you. Can you separate the virus conversation from what you saw? Because if you can, seeing a full ballpark for the first time in over a year put a smile on my face.
It didn't.
Now, if you want to have a complete separate conversation
about I'll show you how it didn't, and I'm following your rules.
Okay.
It didn't because of what the Texas Rangers said they were doing. Because
full capacity for opening day and then 25% capacity for today.
If the idea was, if you're saying, well, the governor said it's okay, we're a business, we're doing it, people are responsible. If they made that claim, if they said we are not going to require anything and we're selling tickets because this is what our government is allowing us to do, then that's the conversation that you just had. What I can't stand is that there are hypocrites like you wouldn't believe. They're total frauds because tonight they're having social distancing rules.
Yeah, they only wanted opening day to be full, and then that's
garbage.
It, yeah.
That
makes no sense.
Garbage. Because the virus cares. Well, it's the opener.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
That's like on the college campuses when they say that the virus doesn't transmit in the classrooms. Yeah, no kidding, because the virus says, well, these are good students. Of course, we're going to stay away from them. We're going to go to the frat houses.
Yeah, if you're going to open up, just open up.
I'd have more respect if they were just going to say, screw it, COVID's over.
We have no restrictions. We're full capacity. We're full capacity.
Right.
But for me watching that game, I completely separated the visual aspect from what I was thinking. And I just watched that baseball game, watching a 49,000 fans or whatever it was inside that ballpark, and I was happy. I was transported to a place before COVID, and I was very jealous.
I didn't see that at all. I saw this and I said, these phony balonies. That's all it is. These money grubbing.
Do you realize that that's the largest gathering of Americans since before COVID?
Since before COVID, yep.
Like the Cowboys, I think had 30,000 maybe at a couple of their games. I know that there was college games that have had 30 something. I think that was 49,000. I think it was at Globe Life Park, and I don't think there's been a larger gathering.
Well, it's like the Wild Wild West because it's lawlessness there. Justin Turner tested positive, and he can do whatever the hell he wants. Oh, take a photo. Why don't you put your arm around a cancer survivor? No problem. Hey, we can do whatever that was where the World Series was last year. It's just the hypocrisy is a joke. Don't tell me you're safe and then don't be safe. And I get annoyed with people when they say one thing and do another. And social media gives that away. And I have a family member that I cannot stand right now because they call me up and they'll say, well, we're taking this seriously and we don't do anything and we're home and blah, blah, vaccine, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then you go out and you see their pictures and they're doing all this crazy stuff that's spreading this goddamn thing. And I don't know if what it's like where you are, but in my town, there are cases everywhere. We had 600 new cases just from this weekend. And I don't live in a big town. It's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke. Texas is like your point. It was exactly. We don't need to talk about COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But what the Texas Rangers can't be is you can't be 75% safety thinking about safety. That's a joke.
Yeah, you're right. It makes no sense for them to say full capacity on opening day, but tomorrow
it's social distancing.
I
heard Sundays they're lifting it on Sunday. It's such a joke. I hope that team. I hope they lose power. I hope that they have a plumbing issue and the field floods. It's gross.
Speaking of another baseball home park,
I love that you're just throwing out topics. This is great.
Yeah, why not? This is like a potpourri. They're doing social distancing in Dunedin, where the Blue Jays are going to be calling their home, right? The Blue Jays are playing at their spring training site. That ballpark only
There's an IHOP down the road.
Yeah, that ballpark doesn't seat many people. There's only going to be like
12,
a couple hundred fans there.
There'll be 12 people.
But
they haven't been at home yet, right? They haven't been at home.
No, their home opener is I think Thursday.
Yeah.
Of this week, home opener. I mean, it's not home.
No, I support it. Look, that's where they wanted to go because of.
It's better than Buffalo.
Well, no. What happens? And I talked to a guy up in Toronto about this. They all got apartments. Spring training. What you do is you don't stay in a hotel. You get these furnished apartments.
Yeah, sort of like an Airbnb.
Yeah, kind of. It's just this leasing arrangement that baseball makes, and they usually get one of these complexes and they put all the players in there.
Yeah.
And when I was in with the Mariners, we did it in Peoria, Arizona. It was a really cool place, but you don't want to have to go in hotels while you're home. So now these guys can know they can not have to pack up their stuff.
Yeah, they actually have a
whole
home.
Other month.
Yeah,
and
they actually have a home.
It's a home, and it was more important for the players than I think it is because there's other places that were much more cost effective.
Mm-hmm.
They could have made revenue, but it was a decision that was made by the Blue Jays for the players, which I thought was very, very good.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to miss is betting the overs in those Blue Jays games at Salem Field because when those games,
that's the field's name, Salem.
No, that in Buffalo, Salem Field in Buffalo is where they played last year. That's the site of the AAA ballpark. And I'm telling you, it was the sight lines, it was the batter's eye, and the dimensions of the ballpark. Every game was over 10 runs. It was unbelievable the amount of home runs that were hitting that ballpark. So I'm going to miss that, but I'm curious to see what's going to happen in the spring training site to see if how many runs are going to be scored in those games.
Well, we'll see. I mean, the one thing about baseball here, now I'm throwing a topic at you. The one thing about baseball that I'm hopeful for this year is I hope that these new balls and spring training is such a bad sample size because the players barely play and it's not the right sample size, but home runs were down in spring training. And the idea is that these new balls are going to make it harder to hit home runs.
Yeah, tell that to Giancarlo Stanton yesterday.
Well, but
471
the argument is okay. I'm against the shift, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I say outlaw it. People say, well, you shouldn't outlaw it. You shouldn't make a rule like that. You should just beat it. Okay, here's the argument. Right now, there's no incentive for anybody to try to beat the shift,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're doing this launch angle nonsense, and it's leading to all these strikeouts. What I'm saying is if the probabilities are going to go down that the launch angle will produce the home run, will there be a change in philosophy to go back to the world of contact is king?
Maybe.
And thus you'll beat the shift on your own.
Maybe.
And I'm hopeful because baseball, they've been talking about doctoring baseballs for as long as I've been following this game. Did this happen? And it's only been 5 days. What I'm hopeful for the sport is that by the end of May, I hear one interview, and it's very funny. I'll name drop right here. I talked to Terry Collins about this, and Terry Collins said, "I'll believe it when I see it."
Mm-hmm.
And what I would love is for one day around Memorial Day, for somebody to say, "Man, we got to start getting some more base hits because our offense is really struggling."
Did you see, Major League Baseball's, they use, the minor leagues to test out all these new rules. They do it all the time. One of the new rules that's being tested out is outlawing the shift to an extent.
To an extent.
I believe it's all 4 infielders must be on the dirt.
Right.
Okay. So I guess that still means you can shift and put the shortstop on the second base side of second, or the second baseman on the shortstop side of second, or whatever. But all 4 must be on the infield. You can't have your second baseman in right field.
Correct.
And things like that. I don't like it. I think that's moronic.
Well, it's not going to fix what ails them. And
I think what you should do is, and I think you've said it as well, you draw a line down the middle of the field, and you have equal amount of players on each side, so you can't over on one side.
Right.
It's kind of like, banning the zone defense in the NBA, which is, you're allowed now, but for a time the NBA banned the zone defense. I think a better argument
which is why it can happen, and it's not such a big deal.
I think a better argument would be like 3 in the key. For for the 3-second rule in the NBA. Yeah. So there should be something like that where whatever, you can do something with baseball. But I don't like mandating that they stay on the dirt, because there are certain times where it's not a shift, it's just baseball sense. Like if you're a second baseman and there's 2 outs, okay, you can play on the grass to give yourself more room and make the out at first base, because the play is to first no matter what with 2 outs. So like listen, I played second base my whole life. I grew up and one of the things
you look
my
like a
college
second
coach,
baseman.
I'm 37 now, okay? When I was 18. But one of the things my college coach would say is the play is to first no matter what with 2 outs. Play into the grass to take away, you can get to the ball. You can take away a single that you can't normally get to, because your range is limited the closer you are. So the further away you are, you have more range you have more lateral range, and you can still make the throw, which is still the shortest throw in the game, but you can still make the throw to first base to get the out. If you mandate that player staying on the infield, you're taking that strategy away from how you play certain guys. Like there might be an instance, and you see it all the time, go watch a baseball game. There are certain times where the shortstop might even be on the grass. But I would rather them say you can't go to one side of the bag or the other side of the bag than say that you have to stay on the dirt. Because then you can look, even if it's a tough lefty off, okay?
You're not accomplishing anything. All you have to do is like what you and I have had this conversation, by the way, for how long? 10 years now?
15 years. Yeah.
15 years. I mean, it's 15 years. Just a line. You make the line imaginary. And the only people, and your idea about same amount of guys on each side, that's a better way of saying what I said was the only people that can cross the line are the catcher, the first baseman, and the center fielder.
You mean the first baseman because he's
getting the catcher, the pitcher, and the center fielder.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's exactly it. Yeah, catcher, pitcher, and center fielder can go. That's it. But everybody else, you have to have the right fielder, second baseman, first baseman on the right side, the left fielder, the shortstop, and the third baseman on the left side, and that's it.
Correct.
And this is, by the way,
correct.
This is only on pre-pitch. Okay.
Oh, so if you want to, when the pitcher puts his leg up in the air, you can run.
When you can cheat. Ugh.
I don't like that.
It opens up holes though too for the batter.
Yeah, maybe.
It's the same. It's the same philosophy as it's the same philosophy as a fielder going to cover the bag on a guy stealing. That's why a hit and run is so effective. You hit to the right side because as soon as the runner goes, the second baseman goes to the bag. You know, and so you want to hit behind the second baseman because he's leaving you that hole by cheating over to cover the throw from the catcher. So if you're at second or you're let's say you're the shortstop and there's a dominant lefty up and you're right there on the bag, as soon as the ball is released, you want to cheat over. Okay,
Sure.
well, you're leaving a wide open hole.
I get it. Don writes and says, will the Oakland A's ever win another game? But it reminded me of something. I thought the A's did a really funny job. Did you see what the A's did for the Astros?
Yeah, with the trash cans. Yeah.
No. That's the Angels. That's the Angels.
Oh.
The A's played the Carrie Underwood song before he cheats.
No, that's funny. Let's see.
Come on, that's gold.
Let's see. You got Kershaw against Bassett today, so I would probably say no to the A's winning.
That's you're
tomorrow,
answering the question. I was just bringing up the.
Okay, you got Bauer and Luzardo, so I would say no. Thursday is, let's see. Oh yeah, Irvin against they play. Yeah, I would say they might beat the Astros on Thursday.
Maybe.
Let's see. Javier against Irvin. Oh, Irvin got lit up too. I don't know. I'd have to look at the splits there. But I'd say between tonight and tomorrow against the Doyers, I don't think so. Kershaw against Bassett, and what I say, Bauer against Luzardo tomorrow. Not looking good.
I only have you for a little bit longer. Can I change sports?
Yeah, please.
What'd you think of Baylor last night? And do you think that people
major 1991 vibes, huh?
But people didn't bet heavy on Baylor, and the reason was, and you're the gambling guy, so I'm going to lean to you. What I had heard was that they didn't play enough games. They went a month without playing a game.
They were still, 27-2, 29-2, whatever it was. Here's why I bet Baylor.
Oh,
okay?
Our guy it says, I got 1991 vibes too. Putting you over, standing streamer, whatever. You dating a virgin. I'm in this contest. Something's got to give.
UNLV. They had the chance. Anyway, the reason why I bet Baylor is because these two teams were supposed to play during the season.
And it got canceled.
The game was canceled 3 hours before tip. It was a Saturday. I knew exactly where I was. I was so looking forward to this game. It was the game of the year. Baylor, Gonzaga, the two best teams in the country, preseason 1 and 2. They're the two best teams. We're ready for this matchup. The spread in that game was Gonzaga -2.5. Okay. So at that point, the books felt that Gonzaga was a 2.5-point favorite over Baylor on a neutral court because that game was being played on a neutral court. Fast forward a couple of months now to the national championship game last night, and Gonzaga was a 4.5-point favorite. Why? The same situation between these two teams. They're playing on a neutral site. We just saw Baylor dominate their way through this NCAA tournament and dominate Houston in the Final Four. And we saw Gonzaga play a later game, hours later, and go into overtime and win in a buzzer beater. The amount of energy that takes to survive that game.
Right. It comes
and then
back
to
to
come back.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that you're moving the line by 2 more points? So now I'm getting Baylor, which should have been a 2.5-point underdog based on what it was when the game was supposed to be played a couple of months ago. And now no circumstances have changed. If anything, Baylor's gotten healthier, right, from where they were. And you're giving me now 2 extra points, too good to pass up. I took Baylor plus 4.5, and it was the easiest, win I think I've had in a long time.
Well, so you do think there's a bit of a hangover effect from the one game to the other, from the emotional victory of beating UCLA?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I
and
do
the
too.
fact that it was an overtime game. It was it went longer.
That was a crazy game.
And
did you hear our boy Josh Lewin's call?
Yes, he was great.
The disparaging, like the disappointment, like
yeah.
oh, it's
Yeah. Yep. That was he had a great call. I thought Westwood One call was great.
Is that Kevin Harlan?
No, it was
Fine.
you know who it is. He does all these.
I know who
I
it is.
apologize. Yeah,
I know who it is. I don't know who it is.
I'll tell you.
It doesn't.
Westwood One NCAA announcer. It's what's his face? I can't believe I'm doing this.
It doesn't matter. Kevin Kugler.
Kevin Kugler. Yes.
Oh, that would have been my next guess.
Sorry, Kevin. I'm so sorry.
He's a great dude. He's a good guy.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yep.
Now I feel so bad. I mean, I it's not like I worked for them for 8 years.
He did skiing.
How did you not laugh at that? I said it's not like I worked for them for 8 years. Because yes, I worked for Westwood One for 8 years.
Yes, you did.
You're right, I'm forgetting.
Kevin Kugler is the man.
Kevin Kugler. Yeah,
he called skiing, I think, in the Olympics. That's how I met him. And he's a great dude. Absolutely great dude. All right. What are you watching before we wrap this up? Because I know you got to go. What are you watching these days besides Falcon and Winter Soldier?
So I started Mighty Ducks Game Changers on Disney Plus.
Hard pass.
And I was very hopeful going in, and through 2 episodes, I am not excited. I am not the target audience. I wish I was the target audience. Whereas Cobra Kai set the example for how to bring back an old movie or show and have the perfect blend of nostalgia, which services the older fans, with a new storyline, which is actually compelling enough
That's like
to
Cobra
attract
Kai.
new fans.
That's like Cobra Kai.
I'm explaining what Cobra Kai was.
Oh, I thought you were explaining what Mighty Ducks was.
I'm telling you why I'm disappointed. I'm bringing up Cobra Kai. How Cobra Kai did it right. They had the perfect mix of nostalgia with a new compelling storyline that attracted both old and new fans. This Mighty Ducks series, I went into it with the same Cobra Kai expectations, like I'm going to get pulled in with the old movie feels, but I'm not getting any of it. And maybe they say in one of the episodes, a couple of members of the original cast come back, so maybe there's some sort of something that's going to pull me in then, but I'm not hopeful. So that I'm very upset with. What else have I been watching? Let's see. Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I started Peaky Blinders.
I just finished Banshee. 4 seasons of that. That was pretty good. Never watched it when it was on TV, actually. But
yes.
It's on HBO Max now.
Ethan, Cobra Kai and Winter Soldier immediately. Yeah. Cobra Kai is incredible.
Absolutely. Yes, they did it right. And I wish that all these other reboots would look at what Cobra Kai did and use that formula.
Watch the model.
You have to have enough of the old stuff to attract the old fans in, and then you can give us the new storyline.
He says Banshee was amazing too. Peaky Blinders, I'm 3 in. It's great.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't started that.
It's like The Sopranos in the 1800s.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
But it's like the dynamic of the family, and there's more to it than just like mafia guys. Like it's good. It's really good. Peaky Blinders.
Now that I'm done with Banshee, I am gonna have to pick something else up though. What else did I finish? I feel like I finished something else. I watched The Crew on Netflix with Kevin James. That was a very easy watch.
The Crew?
It was like it's about a NASCAR pit crew. It's a comedy. It was a very easy watch. One of those shows where you can be on your cell phone the whole time, but like still just enjoy it in the background. You
want to make fun of me?
Go ahead.
I've been watching on HBO Max Rick and Morty.
Okay.
Holy crap, that's funny.
Oh, I got another show. All right. Don't make fun of me for this one.
Okay.
All American on the CW.
On the CW? You'll watch that, but you won't watch Black Lightning or Superman and Lois.
All American is a combination of Friday Night Lights, Straight Outta Compton, and Gossip Girl. That is if I could explain that show to somebody who has never seen it before, It's Friday Night Lights meets Straight Outta Compton meets Gossip Girl, and Tay Diggs is the head football coach, and he's very good.
Syracuse University.
And I tweeted about the show, and he retweeted me. He replied to me. So thank you, Tay, for replying to me.
He's a good dude.
But yes, it's exactly that combination. Friday Night Lights, Straight Outta Compton, Gossip Girl.
Well, The CW, meanwhile, Black Lightning is weird as all get out. Jump the shark. Superman and Lois is great.
Haven't started it yet.
It's great. There's 5. They had to take a break. They're going to take a break till May because they had delays in their production in COVID. Seth, would you drop his Twitter? Tay Diggs? I think it's just Tay Diggs. Oh, and
I think he means my
Scott.
Twitter.
Oh, yes. I'll type Scott's in. Scott on air.
Here it is. Ready?
Yeah, it's right there. I was like, Tay Diggs. Why would you want to get
Maybe he wants to talk to Tay Diggs. He's a cool guy. He wants to talk to
Tay Diggs. Follows everybody. He follows
like 1 million people on Twitter.
He follows over 1 million people.
Yeah, he's one of those follow for follow guys. Like you follow him,
he'll follow you back.
Yeah,
he'll follow you back.
If you want some street cred by having Tay Diggs follow you on Twitter, just follow him and he'll follow you right back.
Yeah. Who's your favorite follower? Who do you like of the people that follow you on Twitter? Who are you like? Holy crap, that guy follows me on Twitter. Or girl.
I don't know.
I have my favorite one.
I
have screen grabbed it and I save it in my phone.
My favorite reply or response to a tweet was Seth Rogen when he had gone on Howard Stern and told a story about when he saw Rogue One.
Okay.
And to make a long story short, it involved edibles. Okay. And at the time when I saw Rogue One, I was living in Los Angeles. And let's just say that Seth Rogen and I had the same exact Rogue One experience. So when he did that interview, this was a couple years ago on Howard Stern, I listened to the interview. That's and that funny. Day I tweeted out and I was like, Seth Rogen and I had the same exact experience seeing Rogue One. And he had replied to me about seeing Rogue One and the shared experience that we had.
That's awesome. My favorite follow on Twitter, my absolute favorite, is Linda Carter.
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman follows me on Twitter, and I don't understand why. I don't tweet anything that I think she would enjoy. I ripped Wonder Woman 1984 to shreds, and she didn't unfollow me. I don't know. I don't understand.
She just, you tweet something about the Hall of Justice.
The Hall of Justice. It has to be something about the Hall of Justice. And again, Linda, anytime, I'll drop everything. Anything. Promote your stuff. Promote all your podcasts. Promote everything.
You can follow me right here at Scott's On Air. Okay. Every Tuesday night, I'm right here on Twitch where I do a football show. So if you like football,
it's like hardcore. It's like very, very X's and O's.
Yes, it's called the Football Film Room.
Yeah,
and it is myself and football scout Chris Landry, who has worked with Bill Belichick and Nick Saban and was a coach with the Titans and the Browns and LSU. And so we talk a lot of football, and there's a lot of football to get to tonight. So 6:00 Eastern time tonight, right here, twitch.tv/Scott's On Air. We're going to be talking about the Sam Darnold trade to the Panthers, the Jets hitting the reset button again on the quarterback position.
What'd you think of Mr. Darnold getting traded?
I just thought it's same old Jets hitting the reset button every 3 years. I understand the finances of it because at the end of this year, they're going to have to determine whether or not they would pick up the 5th-year option on Darnold. And that would be very expensive if they were to do that. And if they're not sold on Darnold, then you might as well get rid of him and get something in return instead of, having to pick up that option or decline the option and lose him for nothing. However, it disappoints me from a football perspective because, and we'll talk about this tonight on my show, and Chris will back this up. If Sam Darnold were in this draft right now, he would be the number 2 quarterback selected behind Trevor Lawrence.
So he's better than the guy the Jets are giving up on Darnold for?
Correct.
Because they ruined him?
Because they never gave him a chance to succeed because he had, a good half a year. Then he got a new coach and a new coordinator. Then, other things happened. Then they got rid of his best weapons. And, it's just – the guy was never put in a position to succeed. And I always said, this was my argument a couple of years ago. I used to make the argument, and I believe there might be a podcast out there on this. it was the Eli Manning, Tony Romo argument, and where people would say Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer and Tony Romo wasn't. And I would say Eli Manning, up until Tom Coughlin left, right? And, listen, you're never going to take away the 2 Super Bowls. Eli Manning is a Hall of Fame quarterback. We know that. Eli Manning had the same head coach and same offensive coordinator for the first 8-9 years of his career, whatever it was. And Tony Romo, in the same time span, had 4 head coaches and 6 offensive coordinators.
Yeah, I've heard this.
And it's like, which quarterback is going to succeed? The guy who has the same head coach and same coordinator for 8 years, or the guy who has 4 head coaches and 6 offensive coordinators in the same time span? And then you would argue that even look at the numbers that Romo put up, even dealing with those, disadvantages. And that's where I would compare the quarterbacks and whatnot. Sam Darnold was never put in this position to succeed by the New York Jets, and it's a shame. But you know what? Hey, talk to me in 3 years.
Maybe he makes the Pro Bowl now. Like maybe
and talk to me in 3 years when the Jets make the same decision on Zach Wilson and wind up declining his 5th-year option and trade him in 3 years, and then we're hitting the reset button again, just like they always do.
Ethan says, I'll be joining you on that football show. He says, oh, but he worked for the Patriots, so he knows how to cheat.
No, Chris never worked for the Patriots. He worked with Belichick with the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, because Belichick was squeaky clean there.
Well, they went to the playoffs and then he got fired. So what do you want to say? Yeah.
Scotty, thank you so much, man. Let's do this again soon.
Absolutely.
You're the best. That's Scott Seidenberg. He is he has his Twitch channel and he has all those things. And don't go anywhere. We're not leaving. I don't know how to get rid of Scott here. There you go. We did it. And now what we do is we make the screen. Nope, not that screen. This screen a little smaller so I don't look like I have a giant head. And and Jeff's going to join us in about 10 minutes from now. If you're watching, one thing that I work very, very hard on, I now have 3 podcasts. Look at that. 3 podcasts in the top right of your screen. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, although they're not in that kind of order. Tech Stream with Shelly Palmer and myself. Tech Stream is... well, first of all, Shelly Palmer is a tech maven. He knows everything about technology, and we have decided that we're going to do a podcast for the masses. So it's not an over-the-top you only can be a computer nerd to understand it, but it's also not dumb in that it's not a podcast where they go, well, here's how to do... how to turn on location services. Like it's smarter. The first episode was Mac versus PCs. Everybody has an opinion, Mac versus PCs, and we did that. We did that episode 1 that came out last week. This week, it's an even more controversial topic. It is, when did social media become toxic? And what I feel is it is one of those things where ultimately, it's explained in the podcast. I thought social media became toxic recently. Not necessarily during COVID, but in the last 5 years. It's more than that. And there's evidence that shows that. It's just we didn't know how to use social media the way we use it now. So TechStream, you can get it wherever you can get podcasts. Sports with Friends this week, we have, the lovely and talented Julie DeCaro, who has a new book about what it's like to be a woman in sports media. We're going to be talking to her. I can say for Sports with Friends, we dedicated the entire month of March to women. It was Women's History Month. And we had only female guests for the month. Let's see if I can remember every person we had on in March. Katrina Adams, former head of the United States Tennis Association. We had Devin Caney, who's the host for the National Lacrosse League. We had Christy Winter Scott, who is is a broadcaster for the Washington Wizards and Mystics over on NBC Washington. Then we had Heidi Browning, who is the chief marketing officer and executive vice president of the National Hockey League. And then we had Lisa Ann, who is the highest searched adult film star in porn history, in internet history. And she's now a sportscaster for SiriusXM. And we did a podcast about her journey. And all I can say is it's fantastic. It's phenomenal. She goes into depth on how she got into the adult film industry, why she got into the adult film industry, why she chose to leave it, and she has opinions on everything and social media and what it is like. It's one of the most interesting conversations I've ever had on that show. And we have close to 300 episodes of Sports with Friends. So Sports with Friends is this week. It's Julie DeCaro. Now, Julie was supposed to be in our month dedicated to women, but we had to reschedule her. And it just so happens that this was the week that we could have her on. It's almost like we're stretching Women's History Month. So I think when I put like some kind of a social media post, I'm going to include her. She wrote this book, which is really, really fascinating. Let me get the name of it. She has this book called. Nope, that's not it. Hold on. Sidelined. That's what it's called. Sidelined. It's a book. Sports, Culture, and Being a Woman in America. And she's going to be our guest. I haven't recorded it yet. And, you know, it's funny. There's a lot of options where I have suggested where, should podcasts be on Twitch? And I always ask folks, do you think they should be? I don't think so. Because I think what happens is when you're interviewing somebody, you're live and they put up some kind of a guard. And I think with the podcast, what happens is people relax because they know that it can be edited. And I think, for example, Lisa would have loved to have been on Twitch, but I don't think her answers would have been as good. I don't know that. I'll never know that. But it just seems to backfire, and it can go down a weird path, And so as a result of that, you get this sense that a lot of people, prefer the intimacy of that. So Sports with Friends, I started Sports with Friends in 2015. I did so. I named it. I didn't name it that at first, and I created it and rebranded it Sports with Friends when my best friend was killed. And it was a very therapeutic thing for me. I wanted to do a show where I could only talk to friends. And then it turned into Friends of Friends because there are PR people and whatnot. And those people, have, in essence, done, a lot of that, and that's where the podcast has come. The other podcast that I do, the third one, the logo's right there, is the Hall of Justice. And that's a superhero podcast, but it's a superhero podcast for grown-ups. And the idea is that grown-ups can be in this, you can be fans of this material, of this genre, and not, the only superhero podcasts I found were nerdy, and they were kiddie podcasts, and who would win in a fight, Superman or the Hulk, or something like that. Like I don't, those aren't the kind of shows I like. And we get a lot of actors on that show. We got a lot of voice actors, writers, directors. We've had Zack Snyder on the show. We've had Ben Affleck on the show. We've had Samuel L. Jackson's been on that show. John Travolta was on Hall of Justice. A lot of actors. Kevin Smith has been on Hall of Justice. I have not seen Invincible yet. It's on my list. I'm totally want to. Mondays and Tuesdays suck for me. It's amazing that I found these 2 hours to do this, just because of work. But I do want to see Invincible. I really want to see it, and I'm planning on it. I've heard so many good things, and I read the book, so it's pretty. I can't wait. I can't wait to see it, and I want to do a podcast on it. So we'll do that as well, and then so this week on the Hall of Justice, I did. Well, this week Lex Luthor's on the show. It comes Thursday. The guy who played Lex Luthor on Smallville, Michael Rosenbaum. He was also Wally West, the Flash, on the Justice League cartoon. And Michael Rosenbaum, that's already recorded, so you'll love that interview. He also has his own podcast, and we talk about that. And there's a lot of stuff that we did as well. So that's a great one. Last week we had Frank Grillo. A couple of weeks ago we had the new Superman, Tyler Hoechlin from the CW. We've had some really fun guests on the Hall of Justice. And that show, if you're old enough to know what the Hall of Justice is, you're our demographic. That's the slogan for that podcast. All right, let's welcome in our buddy Jeff. He is a Twitch superstar, and he's sitting in the chair where he's in when he goes on my Devils broadcasts. Jeff Eisenbahn, he has done esports, he's done social stuff, he works with NBA 2K. He just hosted this really fancy MLB Twitch show, which I have to ask him all about, and he is kind enough to give us a couple of minutes and hang out with me here on this little show. How you doing, buddy?
I just moved out the Devils stuff to put in this background for you. I knew we might be talking about baseball, so I wanted to change it up.
Yeah, screw that. You could have
give you some light too.
So this is what
at my parents' house, but I'm actually moving back into a real big boy apartment in New York City next week, next month. Man. So yeah, so
is that good? So are you going to still record all your MSG stuff from here?
I mean, I'm basically going to pick up the PC the gaming PC that I'm working on and doing everything with and bringing it into the city and, just crossing my fingers that New York City internet hardlined in can work.
Oh my God. That's going to be so nerve-wracking.
You'd hope it will work out, right? You hope crazy. that it'll do. It'll do
so
wonders.
You work for DraftKings and
FanDuel. Well, it's MSG. Technically, I work for MSG, but
technically
it's
MSG. Sorry, yeah. FanDuel. Good thing this isn't live. So you work for FanDuel, and literally right in the middle of the game. So the Devils will be playing right in the middle of the game, and it'll be and a shot and a save, and and the goalie holds on for a face-off, and everybody's like at a fever pitch, and then all of a sudden your face pops up, and every time I'm like, screen grab that! I gotta screen grab that, and I'm like, he knows what he looks like. Why do I need to screen grab that?
It's I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate the love from that, but yeah, the part in the game, people I don't think quite realize this is pre-taped. At the beginning of the season, like they play the same clip of me
really?
In the
That's
first
not
every time.
You don't update that every week?
They don't update that every week. But before the game with the Devils, I do tape a new segment every Devils game day. So that is fresh, and that's what I tape right here.
Nice. Since you brought props, I should show you. I had this from the earlier hour. This is the Colorado Rockies
wow.
MLB Home Run Derby All-Star Game jersey.
So that's 98, I believe,
From 98, right? This was the first All-Star game that I covered. There's the logo for the All-Star game. And I covered this, and I had been hired to move to Seattle to work with the Mariners. And you know how, like, back then I didn't have a contract. So you know how you give 2 weeks notice?
Yep.
This was day 12. The 98 All-Star game was day 12 of my 2 weeks notice. So, like, I was gone. I joked that the All-Star game was my going away party from Denver, and I partied the whole week. Like that All-Star game, the only reason I saw it was because it was on TV and I recorded it.
Well, I think a lot of people, right, are missing that aspect of these big major events that usually you would have you would have the parties all around and everything like that. I mean, you know, Indianapolis, by the way, is built for parties. Yeah. I mean, they built that city for big events like March Madness that was there, but you just can't do anything right now.
Yeah, I totally agree, unless you're in Texas. Okay, so tell me about first, let's do the baseball thing. So MLB calls you up, they know who you are, they say, listen, you're the Twitch guy, can you do a Twitch thing? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, it came about, it was kind of a few weeks out. I think there were a ton of moving parts. You know, I have, when you do what I do, you don't necessarily know what was talked about in the boardrooms or anything like that. I feel like I'm able to adjust and understand what was going on from a sponsorship perspective and everything like that. But, you know, it's, you know, I think that I've created a niche for myself in being able to be that crossover between sports and gaming, and understanding the Twitch audience and understanding what you're doing right now, Seth, being live for a number of hours, and, you know, viewership goes in waves and you're engaging with people while also getting those points across. So, you know, I knew a few weeks out that I was going to be a part of it. I didn't see the guest list until maybe two days before. And all of a sudden I'm like,
right?
you know, I'm like, wow, names. You know? So I was like, you know, better crack down and focus. But I think it was such an interesting activation. For those who don't know, you know, we were on air for about 6 to 7 hours as kind of a second screen to everything going on with opening day. We shared some highlights. We talked about the games going on, but we also played some video games. We had some interviews. We opened some baseball cards. You know, we had a cleat designer on. We had a lot of conversations around celebrating baseball, and MLB The Show 21 coming out as well, of course. Right. You know, as a second screen to everything going on.
What were who were some of the guests?
So Deezus and Miro are probably the two biggest names that we had on. You know, taking some time away from interviewing Barack Obama and Joe Biden to talk to us, I guess. Right. Big Crit, who's a big rapper who was who actually wrote the song. He's the song for the trailer and the intro to MLB
Major League Baseball booked this.
Major League Baseball booked this.
That is fascinating.
A ton of gamers: Gold Glove, Vern Notice, Action Jackson, who's a gamer who actually hosts a podcast with Trevor May, who had a little bit of a guest segment for us. Oh, cool. He was on co-hosting for a while. Bryce Hutchinson, who is a minor leaguer / gaming streamer as well. Hunter Pence, Cliff Floyd, Steven Nelson from MLB Network. Robert Flores popped in for a few minutes. So nice. It was a party for sure.
That's very cool.
Sarah Langs from MLB Network or
it's
MLB.
It's so funny because it's so not a thing I've ever associated with baseball, and it's so interesting.
But that's okay. That's okay, right? Things can change. You know, it's
no. That's what I'm saying. That's why I wanted to ask you about it, because it was so different. And look, I love that they're trying. I love that they are. I love that there are people who are dedicating their existence to trying to appeal to a different demographic, and good for them. Good luck. Good luck. I hope it works. I really do. Are they doing any more of those?
Well, so the feedback was really great. I think, you know, obviously opening day is special in its own right, that it is this celebration of baseball and fans are so excited to get back into baseball. You know, I don't know. I'm not the decision maker on MLB's part, but I think it's worth noting that this is a big year for MLB The Show, the video game. You know, adding Xbox to the fold, you've basically, you know, I don't know the exact numbers, but you're almost potentially doubling your base in terms of reach. And you know, I think that's very important, and that's something that's been missing from baseball this last decade or so. When you've just had MLB The Show on PlayStation systems, you know, you've knocked out all those people who aren't. You've taken the best game you have and not given it to people who just have Xbox or just have Nintendo Switch or anything like that. So, you know, it's a big year for MLB The Show. It's a big year for MLB gaming. And I think that we'll see where it goes. I think MLB from an esports perspective is one of the easier, you know, MLB The Show could be one of the easier games to have some esports competitions down the line. You know, I think the 1v1 aspect of it is so easy when it comes to baseball. And I think that,
is it easier? Is it easier than Madden or NBA 2K or NHL 21?
So, you know, the hard part about it from a gaming perspective, the reason that NBA 2K has been so successful from an esports perspective, and I think NHL is going to be kind of the next one in the fold, is because they can create teams. You can, NBA 2K is designed for 5-on-5, 5 players each side. For the NHL, we're going to see 6-on-6, including goalies. It's a lot harder for, you're not going to have 9-on-9 for baseball. It's just not going to be that guys are going to come up every hour or so virtually. It's not going to work that way.
Could you imagine just being a right fielder for an esports team, just standing?
Listen, it might happen.
Go, all right, I'm bored.
There might be competitions over the next few years that are like that, but I do think the 1v1 aspect is more likely. And I think that, look, it's funny too, because I think from the gaming standpoint, it's almost different. Basketball and hockey and football, it's a little different, but baseball, the gaming product is sped up so much more than the actual on-field product.
Yeah,
you can play your buddy in a 9-inning game, and you
can play a 9-inning game in 40 minutes.
Yes. So, so that's where I think there could be some real potential esports hope here. And there's so much excitement about the game. And there are just certain video games. The NHL is a perfect example of people love NHL video games who don't necessarily love watching hockey. And I think that there's that potential with baseball too, that I know so many people growing up who loved trying to smack home runs in a baseball video game, but weren't going to sit in front of a 3.5-hour game and, keep a scorebook and take notes on everything going on.
So have I told you my NHL story with video gaming?
I don't know. I know that you are a man of many stories, but I don't know if I know that one.
So I was addicted in the 90s and the early 2000s, like addicted to the NHL game. I played Madden a lot, but addicted to the hockey game. And I remember, like, on my wedding day in 2005, I played 6 NHL games of NHL 06 because, my wife was getting her hair done and all that, all that stuff. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I just sat there and I played NHL forever. And the last game I got was NHL 08 because it was for the PC. And that's when my first child was born. And that's when I got the talk, which was, "You're about to be a father now. Could you stop with the goddamn video games?" So NHL 08 was the last game. But then in NHL 09, they announced that it was the last game on the PC. And I thought that was garbage, but it kind of like divorced me from hockey. Well, I have this massive PC and this, this radio studio that I built, and it has the capability to do all that stuff. And I was trying to recreate NHL 08, but if you remember, Windows doesn't support Flash anymore, and all those early games are Flash. And I went on social media and I complained about this, that there needs to be an NHL game for Windows for the PC. And it turns out that a friend of mine says, "I have an old Xbox One. Do you want it?" And I connected it. I hooked it up. I bought that NHL 21 game in about 5 seconds. And now I don't want to create my own team. And it's a long way of telling a story of maybe this is my age and maybe it's possible. But I don't want to create my own player and I don't want to create my own team. I want to be the New Jersey Devils and I want to be in franchise mode where I can be my team. I can make trades. I can do all the things better. And now, and this probably happened years ago, but I didn't know, NHL connected the American Hockey League franchise. So now when you run franchise mode in NHL 21, you run your minor league team. And if you want to, you can play their games. I didn't know that. I didn't know that all of that. And for that, I have played probably 65 games in the last month because I'm addicted. I am full on addicted. I learned how to stream it through my PC so I can get it here on this Twitch channel. I play NHL hockey at night on Twitch as often as I can, and I love it, but I'm not interested in creating a player or creating a thing. And I hear that's what all the NBA people do, all the NHL people do. They just want to create that. And I find it, and it's the first time in gaming, I've never found myself to be like the old man in gaming. I've always been into it, but I think this time I just like franchise mode.
It's fine. I mean, it's whatever you want. I don't expect you to become an esports star. No offense, but it's not.
But I'm damn good. I am damn good.
I think that you have to understand, you know, the younger generation of gamers coming up, so much of their lives have been individualistic, from creating social media profiles to what they do in Fortnite, which is an individual game. And it's a lot of, you know, showing off your individual, you know, sports games in a way have become almost like combat games, and that you kind of create your individual and you match up. Like if you're playing NBA 2K, you might match up with some friends. You're going to go to the virtual park and play 3-on-3, but you might play with 2 different friends the next day. And there's that sort of team aspect to it. Now, you know, you and me, I mean, even myself, who I'm saying I'm in this gaming space, I don't commit to the time of creating, developing my players and having this Rolodex of people on a long Discord thread who any of us can jump in and play at any time, because I'm just not going to commit myself to playing as much as I would have when I was 17, you know?
Right.
And I think that's okay for me as someone who's trying to make a living. And you know, even though I'm working in gaming, I just can't do as much that, you know, take PGA.
You can't spend your nights playing video games. You're working.
Take PGA Tour 2K, which is probably my favorite game that I enjoy playing, and I fire it up all the time and I play, but I'm not going to play it enough to be, you know, I'm in a couple of virtual, they're called online societies, where basically there's a tournament every week that I can play with, you know, and that's different because I don't have to play online with anyone. I could just, my score just gets posted, but I can't keep up with some of the other people who are playing, you know, 10 times as much as me. And I don't, you know, I feel like a washed up golfer in that sort of sense, that I might play in one tournament every 4 weeks, you know, like a PGA Tour golfer that has a family and won't commit to the same schedule as the guys who are playing every week. Like that's how I feel with that.
That's very funny. The argument for gaming that I have found, first of all, I love when people join me when I stream games. Like I love doing these talk shows, but I love the gaming, and it's super fun. Like there was this thing where New Year's was happening, and I was doing my NHL franchise, but also the Spengler Cup. And the Spengler Cup is a hockey tournament that takes place in Switzerland. And Twitch has such a reach. When I put Spengler Cup in the title of the Twitch stream, all these Swiss people came out of nowhere, and they were all into it. And I was like, that's really rewarding. Like it's like this connection that you feel with total strangers. And to me, it's better because one of the things we were talking about, you know, I have this new tech podcast with Shelley Palmer, and this week's episode we did, when did social media become toxic? And it was very interesting because we did 40 minutes and we mentioned almost every platform, very little about Twitch. But it was very interesting to see, for when he said it is easily a mirror of what you get in society. And I just think Twitch is kinder. Twitch has a lot more filters, and I just find Twitch to be kinder, that most people are pretty supportive unless you're a total asshole. Like it just seems like that's different from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It just seems like those things can be really mean, but Twitch is usually not that.
Well, I think that, you know, you're talking about, you know, I think that Discord needs to be thrown in there, and other forms of almost gaming social media that we're talking about. I think that, you know, if you think back to the early days of the internet, and in the 2000s, there was so much skepticism. You know, I remember going through all of, and you know, I remember being in school and going through all the DARE programs and going through all the health class programs, that everything was devoted to online safety, you know, and we always had a class every year that was about that. But it was, you know, and I think about like my initial screen name, my parents putting parental controls on, and my initial gamer tag on Xbox, my parents putting parental controls on. I had to figure out, you know, when I was like in college, I had to call up my dad and get the password, because I'm like, you know, it won't let me play certain games because it still thinks I'm 11 years old. Nice. I think that a lot of the, and
they don't give you permission, right?
Well, I've gotten permission, but my dad was willing in my 20s to let me be an adult. Nice. But I think that, you know, a lot of those traditional online concerns, by way of one, the whether it be an Xbox Live or whether it be social media platforms, have done a better job cleaning up. I think educating kids and also just cleaning up potential problems. Kids can identify a bug or, when they're getting a virus sent to them or something, kids can identify it easily. It's adults who are like, did I just get a free this or something like that? So I think from a gaming perspective, it's become younger people are a little looser and willing to, like you said, almost make friends online and have these connections with people that they don't even know personally. And part of it is because, right, we learned in school, anyone can make a Facebook profile. Now it becomes, can anyone really make a Facebook profile, a Twitter profile, a LinkedIn profile, a Discord chat thread, an Instagram, and really back, like you really, if you really want to catfish someone, you have to go down so many different routes. So I think people are just more looser and confident when it comes to that nowadays.
Major League Baseball literally just made it official. Colorado is the host of this year's All-Star game.
Yep, see that.
But you know what? 98 forever, man.
I think it'll be interesting to see what our world looks like, right, in July, or honestly, if you have to make the game the first week of August or something instead of the first week of July, to me, I don't think that's what's going to happen. But to me, if that's going to get more fans in the stands or something like that, great. I do think it was a bit of an opportunity, almost gift wrap for a city that does not have an MLB team to host.
I said that immediately.
The MLB All-Star game. And I understand, especially in COVID, there's a lot of concerns in terms of that's a big haul, especially with these months out. I think a lot of people, probably the first thing that came to mind was put it in the cornfields in Iowa.
That's what
you're going to have that
because you spent all that money to build a field.
Why not? You want to spread people out. You can spread people out there, right?
Totally.
I think I understand, and you understand that. I mean, my first reaction when I found out that they were playing the game in Iowa, not the All-Star game, but the regular game, was, where are people going to stay? Because that's the biggest thing with these things. Yep. That hotels are there enough hotels for an All-Star game or something in a pandemic in the middle of Iowa? And I think that's probably a big concern.
And that's why Cooperstown couldn't be it.
I think there's a lot of conversation around cities like Vegas and cities like, Vegas hosted an NBA All-Star game at one point without having an NBA team. And I think that there's, I'm just throwing that out as one name, a city like Portland or Charlotte or Nashville. Could some of these cities, could it be a gift to them that they don't get baseball, but maybe this is Buffalo, maybe that this is an opportunity for them.
Completely agree. Completely agree.
But Colorado isn't.
But the problem with Colorado is you're opening it up, and what has been the conversation, and I'm not going to shy away from this. The conversation has been, baseball didn't do it for the social justice of the thing. They did it for the publicity, and by going to Colorado, a place that has the same voting law, you're opening up the criticism. And what I would say to baseball is, pick a site that no one could argue. Pick a site that puts yourself in a position where all you can get is praised. I'm not sitting here. I'm not turning this into a political pulpit. What I'm saying is, baseball's smarter than this. Like, this seems like all you did was open up the dialogue. And now you're going to put the people in Georgia in a really bad shape because they're going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. And Colorado has the same law, and that's where it's going to come in. And all it's going to become now is controversial, whereas what I wanted baseball to do was take Friday, turn it into a positive, and do something that people couldn't argue with. And your suggestions, my suggestions, the ones I've seen online, they were all great suggestions. Denver, I didn't understand.
I don't know the voting laws in Colorado, so I'm not gonna kind of address that as much as I'm sure that they decided it had to be an MLB team and it had to be an MLB stadium. I'm sure that there was that conversation, and it has to do with, who's actually, I guess, hosting, like the actual hosting responsibilities. It's like,
they gave them a detailed plan for hotel, event space, and security that took months to assemble.
Well, I think MLB
already has that.
people probably don't even understand when in a normal year, when you see March Madness, right? Let's say it's in the first round is in Cincinnati, you see Xavier as the host or something. And that means that the Xavier athletic department has done all of the heavy lifting for the NCAA. So someone does this locally for MLB, it'll be the Colorado Rockies. I think that I want to give baseball a chance to do some things, and when I say do some things, I know that they were keeping everything that the charities that they were devoted to in Atlanta, they're still going to make those donations. So you were talking about, Georgia, and we can argue back and forth, does the Atlanta Braves staff deserve the brunt of this? I think that there's a difference too in the Georgia, this is a political matter as opposed to more of what happened in North Carolina. I feel like was a little bit more of a social manner.
Agreed. But they're similar. They both deal with race.
I think that, MLB made a decision. They're going to stick with it. And we have to see what they do from it. Do they celebrate the Negro Leagues, which there was a lot of conversation about, put it in Kansas City, do what you weren't able to do last time, in terms of really lending that support, where there's Negro Leagues history. That's where the Negro Leagues Hall of Fame is.
Is that where the All-Star game was supposed to be last year?
I don't know if it was exactly. I know there was some issue with the Kansas City All-Star game. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But if it was put somewhere else, then I understand also Kansas City being like, hey, this is the same thing with Tokyo with the Olympics. Like, hey,
it's supposed to be in LA. It's LA, and that's why they got 2022.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to figure out why there was so Kansas City, it was there in July 2012. But I know there was a lot of talk about, reincorporating a lot of that Negro Leagues history in Kansas City that people had. But maybe you can do that in a different way. And baseball's done a good job with that. There's a lot of merchandise that they're selling now, officially licensed merchandise. And, maybe you can incorporate that in. It doesn't matter if the game's
the jerseys.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if the game's in Denver or wherever it is, you can do that. By the way, 2012 Kansas City, Kelly Pickler sang "God Bless America" for the 7th inning stretch. So it was a different time, I guess.
Yeah, a different planet. That's pretty funny. I'm trying to think of all the All-Star games that I've been to, which ones were the best. I was at 98. The next All-Star game I was at, I didn't go to 99 or 2000, but I went to 01, which was in Seattle. 2002 was in Milwaukee. That's the tie. I was there. 03 was the White Sox. 04 was Houston. 05 was Detroit. That's when I got into a fight with the late, great Darrell Hamilton. Because our IFB was crossed and our producers were discussing, this is one of the greatest fights of all time. Our producers were discussing whether or not they wanted to carry the anthem. This was when I was working for Major League Baseball. Carry the anthem, talk over the anthem, or go to break before the anthem. Those were the discussions that they were having. And I only heard them. I didn't hear something Darrell had said. And Darrell on the air asked me a question that I completely ignored.
I'll tell you, I haven't been to much. I covered a few, like I covered the Citi Field one before it happened. I was there a couple days. I was at the Home Run Derby in Miami, the Aaron Judge Home Run Derby.
Yep. I was there.
Or I guess did Gary Sanchez win? I don't even remember who, but incredible atmosphere in Miami. I will say, people say
I had that building had people.
It was funny. Also, I was in a car with Old Navigation, and I put in the Miami Orange Bowl. I remembered that's how I was going to be able to get there. Nice. But that was people say I have a former colleague who used to say everything should be in Miami or New Orleans. All these.
Well,
events.
They're great towns, but Miami's not a great sports town.
That's fair, but
and that ballpark is still in an awful spot.
But it's about the accommodations, the hotels, the party atmosphere that we talked about. There's so much that you can do, in in those cities that make them so special.
Right. The I'm trying to think. 06 was Pittsburgh. That's the story where David Ortiz wanted a guy that was wanted by the FBI on the field with him, and my buddy Eddie, who wrote that book Baseball Cop, which I have right here. Today's props day. This is Baseball Cop. This is a great book by Eddie Dominguez. Eddie said, he's wanted by the FBI. He should not be on the field. And David Ortiz said, well, if he's not on the field, I am not playing. And Bud at the time said, let him play. And that's all in Baseball Cop. And there was a guy wanted by the FBI sitting there with all the players. And I was at that All-Star game and I had no idea. I didn't know any of that. 07, hold on.
By the way, Judge did win that home run derby. It was the Miami fans there, Giancarlo Stanton and Justin Bour lost to Gary Sanchez and Aaron Judge in the first round. So it was a Yankees. I think there were probably more Yankees fans than Marlins fans there anyway. Nice. But
07 was in San Francisco. That was fun.
Yep.
That's when I had a gig with SNY and I had to record something on a boat. We went into the water and we recorded a thing, and we had a cameraman on one end of the boat and me and Matt Yaloff. You remember Matt Yaloff? And we were hanging on the edge of the boat. And that was where they were going to hope that they were going to launch home runs. And then 08 was at the old Yankee Stadium.
Yes. That's the Josh Hamilton, Justin Moore, no home run derby.
And the lesson that I learned there, and I wanted to ask you about the Masters, and I screwed up. The lesson of the 08 home run derby was I never think the All-Star game should ever be in New York, because having been to all those All-Star games, so you just saw my list. Like I've been to a dozen All-Star games. When it's in Milwaukee, it takes over Milwaukee. When it was in Denver, it took over Denver. When it was in New York, you walk down Fifth Avenue, you wouldn't even know the All-Star game was happening.
The Super Bowl was here. People didn't know what was going on.
People didn't care. And that's the argument. And that's why it should always be in a city that will embrace it. That's my argument.
Yes, but I also understand, being someone who worked in low budget media and used to try to go to the Super Bowl and NBA All-Star and everything, the hotel situation and it starts getting thin, and the flights start getting thin. When it comes to something like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, even Miami, I would put in that category, Atlanta, you don't feel the impact in the flights you book or the hotels, because there's so much. Atlanta, the Super Bowl in Atlanta, the Marriott Marquis in Atlanta was built. I mean, Atlanta was built for the Olympics. Atlanta will never have a problem with hotels with any of this stuff, because it was literally built for the Olympics. It has these crazy high-rise hotels that make it easy. Of course, MLB All-Star game not happening there. I do have to go in a sec, but I want to hear some Masters questions from you.
Well, okay, real quick. And I just lost my train of thought. I guess I have to ask you about the Masters, because I had an All-Star game point. And
if you circle back to that, I'll answer it too.
I totally screwed that up. That was so dumb of me. Okay. The fact that the Masters just happened.
Yep.
In the golf calendar, it just happened. Can that be an advantage, a disadvantage, and will that hurt interest?
Because technically part of this season, by the way, the same season. The golf season starts in September, so it's almost, they're gaining points for the same spot in the calendar. So the argument that I'm hearing from the ground is throw out whatever the heck happened in November from a scoring standpoint, because Augusta will play harder in April than it played in November. Dustin Johnson, 20 under, set the record in November. Cameron Smith, who lost by 5 shots, had 4 rounds in the 60s, never been done before. There was some rain. There were some incredibly soft conditions that people say you will never see in an April Masters, which is the course is a little bit drier. It's the beginning of the year. I guess there's not April showers yet in Georgia. Right. The azaleas are blooming. It's a little bit hotter, and it just doesn't have the same thing. The other thing is, no, there will not be a full house of fans at Augusta, but there will be a totally different feeling of having those fans
as opposed to the last time where there were none.
For 2 reasons. One, it changes the entire way that the course works, because guys were hitting balls that might have been getting 30 extra yards if they hit them right or left, because there were no fans to stop the ball. Those balls will run into fans this time around, which, that hurts them. What helps them is the fans will actually trample down the rough. That was the issue at the US Open last year. The rough, what they were saying, was thicker than they'd ever seen because people weren't actually trampling it down. It'll be trampled down. I know that's a lot of information right there. I don't think it really matters that it was 5 months ago, 12 months ago, whatever it was, because most of these great players play it every year anyway. A guy like Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson, guys who played it forever, it's the same thing to them. They could play it in their sleep. They don't have to play practice rounds. They've just done it.
Kyle Palmieri and Taylor Hall are both out of tonight's Devils Sabres game for precautionary reasons.
Well, yeah, I feel Taylor Hall is going to be an NHL player who people just gloss over what has really been a high stats dynamic career. Well, I know, but I'm saying
he chose Buffalo, and I'm telling you, I've met Taylor Hall a bunch of times. I like the guy a lot. Why did he go to Buffalo? What did he thought Buffalo was going to have this massive offense, and boy, we just did a massive left turn here. Going
Listen, with Eichel, with that entire team, it looks like a great roster on paper. Everybody. They can't do anything.
No, and playing the Sabres is rough. But Palmieri, he's a Jersey guy, and he wants to be here, and I don't understand. Sign him to an extension and get him back in the lineup.
I think it's the Devils are looking to get younger. They're looking if they can get something out of him. 2-time All-Star, by the way.
Super young.
If they can get something out of him, then they will.
Did you see Damon Severson break his stick last game? Jack Hughes pulled a move that is like why they think he's going to be the next Mario Lemieux. Like he weaved in around three guys and gave the perfect feed for Severson. He goes to one time it in, and the goalie for the Capitals, Samsonov, he just makes this ridiculous save. And Severson goes right into the locker room. He bypasses the bench, goes right into the locker room, and just destroys his stick. And you can see it through. And I said, I want more of that. I want more of that. I love it when he didn't do it on the ice. He didn't do it on the bench. He wasn't a baby about it. He said, I'm getting out of here. And he showed the emotion, and I loved it. Tell your guys at MSG I thought that.
I'll have to forward that on to them.
Jeff, how can people find you online?
At Jeff Eisenband, JEFFEISENBAND, and watch Hall of Trivia on HQ tonight at 8 p.m.
Yes. Make sure you watch it. Jeff, thank you as always. I'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Whenever you want.
You got it, buddy. All right. That's Jeff Eisenband right here on the show. Thanks to him. Thanks to Scott for doing this. We really appreciate it. We're going to be doing at least 3 shows a week. So we're going to I just need to find times to do them. That's the drill. In the meantime, please download the podcasts. Tech Stream with Shelley Palmer and Seth Everett. Hall of Justice comes out on Thursdays, and Sports with Friends comes out on Wednesdays. They are shows that I absolutely feel. These are my pride and joy, as is this Twitch channel. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks to all the new followers. Thanks to everybody who rated. We really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.